If you find yourself constantly people pleasing, you're always saying yes when you really want to say no, or you are putting everyone else's needs before your own, including your cat, even when you are completely exhausted, this isn't just because you're too nice. This is what we call the fawn response. And this is a survival strategy that your nervous system used in order to keep you safe. So let's talk about it and talk about what this means and maybe why this happens. So maybe this is you. Maybe you are the person that everyone comes to when they need something. Maybe you're the helper, you're the responsible one, you're always reliable, always online, always available, and you are always the one who shows up. But inside you are completely exhausted and you start to resent people and you are burnt out and you don't know how to stop. And so you start to say yes to everything because that's your default setting, right? But you don't truly have the energy for all of these things. And so you end up taking care of everyone else while you're ignoring your own needs. And then you say sorry all of the time. You're apologizing for things that aren't even your fault. You're apologizing for even existing. And then you avoid conflict at all costs. So you start to feel responsible for other people's feelings, right? If someone's upset, you feel like you have to fix it. And even when you know that you need to set a boundary, you just can't, right? Your body won't let you. And then you start to think, well, what's wrong with me? Why can't I just say no? Why can't I just take care of myself? Why can't I put myself first? As I always tell you guys, your body is doing what it was designed to do. So let's talk about what this fawn response actually is. Most of you have probably heard of fight or flight by now. Maybe you've heard of freeze. Fawn is the fourth one. So fawning is when you try to keep yourself safe, okay? We try to keep ourselves safe specifically by keeping other people happy. So it's a people-pleasing survival tactic. And oftentimes it develops because at some point in your life, maybe when you were little, maybe when you were in a relationship, maybe at work, maybe through schooling or societal expectations, whatever it may be, you learned that conflict, anger, or disappointing someone wasn't safe. So maybe when someone got upset with you, really bad things happened. Maybe you got yelled at, maybe you were punished, ignored, rejected. And so your brain and your nervous system learned from those experiences and said, hey, if I can just keep everyone happy, if I'm helpful, if I'm agreeable, and if I never cause any problems, I'm safe. It'll be okay. And so this becomes automatic, right? It's a pattern that your brain and your body start to run without you even thinking about it. It's like this background programming. And so now when there's any hint of any conflict or someone needs something, your nervous system kicks in and says, hey, I have to make them happy. Fix it. Keep the peace. Show up for them, right? This is how we stay safe. And you do it. Even when you're exhausted, even if it's hurting you, even if it puts you in a bedbound state like it did me, right? So I was so burned out. I was bedridden for 8 months and I was couchbound and housebound for about 3 years total. So what's happening here is that our nervous system thinks that people pleasing is survival. And because we're so busy keeping everyone else safe, we're depleting our own energy. And so we end up running on empty, and our body is essentially paying the price. And it's trying to notify us with things like anxiety, with fatigue, with chronic health issues, with burnout, because all these things are driven by stress and inflammation. And I was a chronic fawner for most of my life, currently a recovering chronic fawner. And I'd say I'm probably about 85 to 90% recovered. There's still some progress I'd like to make though. So, I grew up learning that my job was to make everyone else comfortable, even if someone was upset and I didn't have the time or the capacity to handle it, I still needed to fix it. If someone needed something, I needed to provide it. Saying no, I didn't learn to say no until I was almost 30, okay? Like, it took me decades to learn to say no. I said yes to everything. I tried to carry everyone, and I would make myself so small so that everyone else was comfortable, right? And it burned me out so badly. And I remember lying in bed, completely bedridden, and people would still ask me for things. Well, when are you coming back to the clinic? I don't know. Like, I would have patients, and I loved and adored my patients, and I still to this day thank them so much, but like, I can't even fetch myself a glass of water. I need to take care of me right now. I'm so sorry, but I need to take care of myself. And, you know, when I was in that bedbound state, I had to start learning to say no. And because I had nothing left. And my nervous system was so convinced that saying no would absolutely put me in the grave. And it wasn't until I started understanding more about the nervous system, more about the fawn response, and started working on, nervous system regulation, that things were shifting for me. And I started to learn that saying no does not mean I'm going to be abandoned. It doesn't mean that I'm going to be rejected. And it sure as something doesn't mean that I'm going to be put in the grave if I say no to someone, right? I'd still be safe. And it didn't happen overnight. It took a lot of time, a lot of support, a lot of personal development, right? A lot of self-reflection. And boy, when I was bedbound, did I have time for self-reflection, baby. I had plenty. And Jesus was like, listen, girl, you've got to go and look at this, because I didn't put you here just to put you here. Like, there are things that you need to change. And now I'm better at setting boundaries, right? I can say no to people. I can put my needs first, and the world doesn't end. And you might be thinking, well, I want to help people. I enjoy helping people. Like I always feel good when I help someone. Does that mean I'm fawning? No, there is a difference, because I love to help people. That's why I do what I do. There's a difference between choosing to help because you genuinely want to, and compulsively helping because your nervous system feels like it has to. And I want to say that does not make you a bad person, because I know when I say that, you might start to feel guilty and be like, well, I'm helping people because my nervous system tells me I have to, not because I'm choosing it. Don't feel guilty for that. That does not make you a bad person. You were trained to do that. That is not your fault. Okay? However, unfortunately, as we learn these things, it is our responsibility to unlearn those and learn something new if we want our lives to change. So ask yourself, can I say no without feeling intense guilt or fear? Can I disappoint someone without panicking about it? And if the answer is no, it's fawning. And you can also ask yourself, well, how do I stop? How do I even know how not to people please? Right? You can't just decide to stop. Our brains are very beautifully and divinely created. And I know some people have miraculous stories where they've just quit things cold turkey. But for 99.99% of the population, you cannot just decide to stop. Your nervous system has to feel safe enough to let you stop. So that means things like building nervous system regulation, which you can do by watching any of the videos on my channel. Learning that boundaries don't equal danger. Having support while you practice saying no. Having someone that you can lean on, confide in, someone that's there and understands what you've been through and that can support you while you're practicing that. Shifting your identity from I'm responsible for everyone to I'm responsible for me. It's going to feel selfish. It's going to feel selfish. You're going to feel guilty. But this is very deep work that does not get completed overnight. And I don't know what else I can say other than it is not because you're a bad person, that you do not have to feel guilty. You do not have to feel shame around these things. And you don't have to feel selfish. I know that society likes to treat us that way and train us that way, especially with movies. Movies are a big one. I could talk about that. That's a whole other topic though. My point is, what is actually going to help you? Recognizing the pattern, okay? So you cannot change what you can't see. So start noticing yourself when you're fawning. Call yourself out. You don't have to do anything about it. You don't have to change it. Stop it. Just notice it. Okay, notice when you say yes, but you want to say no. Notice when you're over functioning for someone else, but you don't really have the capacity. And then start to work on nervous system regulation. So what that is in a simple way is that your body needs to feel safe. So send it safety cues, okay? So it needs to feel safe enough to risk disappointing someone. And that comes from consistent regulation practices. So the tapping on our channel, the breath work, the somatic work, all of these things can help with that. And also, one of the scariest ones is putting yourself in a situation where you have the potential to disappoint someone, disappoint them, and then see how you react or respond. And slowly shift that. We can do that by practicing small no's. So start really tiny, because if you start doing really big leaps and bounds, we're going to retreat, we're going to freak out, we're going to panic, and then it's going to get really ugly and nasty. And then we're going to go into that guilt and shame spiral, right? So start really small. Say no to something so small where the stakes are so low, and let your nervous system learn that you can say no and you can survive. It's going to be okay. Right? So maybe you're at a restaurant and someone says, do you want a refill on your drink? No, thank you. Okay. For me, like, I couldn't even order my own food at a restaurant. I had so much anxiety. So, start really, really small with these things. And lastly, you want to get support, right? We don't want to do this alone. You need someone who understands fawning, who understands the nervous system, the brain, who's been through these experiences too. I think is the best option. Someone who's educated and has been through it and can help you navigate this without judgment. So the goal isn't to stop caring about people, right? Because then we'd be swinging in the complete opposite direction. We want balance right there in the middle, right? We don't want to completely neglect everyone, but we want to care about ourselves as much as we care about everyone else, right? Life is all about balance. If I could teach anyone anything for the rest of my lives, I would tell them life is about balance. Every single thing in life is about balance. Your health, your wealth, your spirituality, balance. So if you're realizing, oh my gosh, I am absolutely a fawner, and you want help shifting out of this pattern, that is exactly what we work on in our program. So we help your nervous system learn to feel safe enough to stop people pleasing. And we help you build up these boundaries that actually hold. And we help you shift from, hey, I'm responsible for everyone, to I am allowed to take care of me. So you don't have to do this alone anymore. And if that sounds like something that you need, all of the links will be below in the description. You can learn more there, or you can book a free call with us. We're happy to talk about where you are and what support could help you. And as always, remember, you are not responsible for everyone else's happiness. Okay, you are not responsible for keeping the peace at the expense of your own health. Learn from me. Please learn from my mistakes. Don't do this at the expense of your own health. Okay? It triggered Hashimoto's for me. It triggered POTS. I was struggling with CFS and long COVID, all these things. So, an MCAS. So you were not created to carry everyone and everything. Cast all your cares onto him, all your worries. Let him hold those burdens, right? So there's freedom that is available to you, but your body has to feel safe enough to receive it. So take care of yourself today, not just everyone else, and I will see you guys tomorrow.